Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Generation. Today we're excited to introduce you to a remarkable young woman from Mongolia. Meet Delgermaa Boldbaatar, also known as Diana. For the past 6 years, Diana has been actively engaged in the world of education, sharing her expertise and passion with her students. Alongside her teaching responsibilities, she is pursuing her studies at the National University of Mongolia, demonstrating her commitment to both personal and professional growth. Join us as we explore her journey of this successful Mongolian girl and uncover a unique blend of determination and ambition that drives Diana's pursuits.
Hi guys, good morning. I am Delgermaa, but some of you guys might recognize me as Diana. I am a founder, educator, and content creator at Tactics of Diana, and I am also a model and a fourth year student majoring in international relations. Let's spend a day with me.
This morning, we catch up with Diana at the Rock Coffee Shop in the center of Ulaanbaatar, where she begins her day with a steaming cup of hot coffee, preparing herself for the bustling day ahead. Please tell us a bit about your morning routine.
So for my morning routine, I usually spend a bit of time meditating and doing a short exercise and doing positive affirmations, which help me to start the day on a positive note. And if I have a slow morning, I'll usually have breakfast, a little egg sandwich with coffee.
At just 11 years old, Diana embarked on a bold journey to the United States. Despite facing numerous challenges in adapting to a new country, she took on the task of learning English with determination and grit. For 6 months, Diana immersed herself in the language, overcoming hurdles and embracing every opportunity to improve her skills. Her resilience and hard work during this period laid the foundation for her future success. Tell us about your childhood and when and how you learned English so well.
So I moved from the provinces to the United States of America at the age of 11. At the time, I had no English, so I barely could introduce myself, but I was able to keep up with the other students, make sure that I didn't miss any assignments and projects, no matter how difficult it was. Also, at the same time, I asked for extra assignments so that I could get better. And yeah, eventually I was able to get out of the ESL program in only 6 months.
What was the most challenging aspect of the life in the USA?
I feel like because you're representing your entire country when you live abroad, it's sort of challenging in a way that you have to make sure that you're representing your country in a good way, right? I had to make sure that I was the top of my class. I had to make sure that I was excelling both academically and extracurricular wise. And yeah, I feel like it was more fun than challenging because it was a lot of new experiences that I didn't really have in my own homeland. So yeah.
Could you please tell us about what subject you are currently studying?
So the profession I'm currently studying is international relations. It has to do a lot of it incorporates a lot of the fields, right? You have to know economics, you have to know world history, a bit of everything. So you have to do a lot of reading, research, but at the end of the day, international relations comes down to diplomacy, establishing diplomatic relations with other nations for the benefit of our own country, having good domestic and foreign policy, and having mutual cooperation with other nations for the long term.
Upon returning to Mongolia, Diana quickly put her language skills and teaching experience to good use. Focused on helping others succeed academically, she dove all guns blazing into English education, focusing particularly on TOEFL and SAT exam preparation. What's truly impressive is that at just 19 years old, Diana took a bold step forward by starting her language training center named Tactics of Diana. This endeavor not only showed her drive and determination, but also her commitment to offering education and empowering others to excel. Could you tell us about your language training center, Tactics of Diana? What motivated you to open this center?
So I first started teaching, I think back in my junior year of high school. Essentially, when I first came back from the United States, I was able to share my knowledge in a creative, more fun way because I've noticed that a lot of the schools here in Mongolia have a more traditional approach to learning, which can hinder students from wanting to learn more on their own. I've been teaching for 6 years now, right? So prior to establishing my own company, I worked at 2 different places, but I've noticed that I didn't have a lot of creative freedom. I had different alternative approaches that I wanted to implement in my courses, and also you get paid like a drop in the bucket, so those are the reasons why I first started it.
Would you provide our audience with a brief overview of the TOEFL and SAT exams?
So both tests are required when you're applying abroad. SAT specifically, you only need to take it if you're applying to colleges in the United States, right? It's basically like the general admission examination for American schools. You need to take it only if you're applying for the undergraduate program, whereas the TOEFL, it's a test to prove your English fluency. So whichever country that you may be interested in going to, you can take the test. It has 4 sections: reading, listening, speaking, and writing.
What is your primary focus when teaching?
There's quite a few things that I would like to point out, but I feel like I try to make it as engaging as possible. So it's not just a lecture you're listening to, you're actually getting to implement them into your brain for the long term, because I feel like most students just tend to forget eventually. So it's really important to remember the tactics and learn how to use them efficiently in order to get a sufficient score.
What are the most common mistakes you notice people make when learning a language?
Especially for Mongolians, grammar, being too focused on it and essentially not getting better at it. So whenever you're learning a new language, you always have to remember to improve both the reading, listening, speaking, and writing simultaneously, or else it wouldn't really improve over time. So you have to make sure that you're utilizing all those skills in order to get to an advanced level.
What do you consider the most important aspect of learning English?
I feel like you have to be consistent because people tend to put things off, right? I'll start tomorrow, or I'll start doing it next week, next month, and then it becomes next year, right? And then all of a sudden you have 3 children, an entire family to take care of. So consistency is probably the most crucial. You have to make sure that you're practicing on a daily basis so it doesn't rust.
What do you believe is the most effective method for preparing for a language test?
2 things: meticulous planning and doing analysis. So for planning, I feel like you have to do 3 separate planners: a daily schedule, a weekly schedule, and a monthly planner. So you can have what sort of practices or what sort of mock tests you're going to do planned beforehand, so you can just follow them through, right? Also, a lot of students just tend to score their tests, oh, I got 15 out of 20, and then move on to the next. And then what happens because of that is there's no improvement in doing so. So when you actually sit down and analyze every single question, what type of question it was, what sort of tactic you needed to follow, and why the other three choices were not sufficient, and why the correct answer was the correct answer, or what sort of evidence was in the text. You have to analyze every single one of them in order to see the perspective from the test maker's point of view, and that's what's really going to make a difference and take your score from a 500 to perhaps a 700.
What do you find to be the most rewarding aspect of teaching?
Definitely my students' results. So whenever they're happy about their scores, whenever they call me and say, hey, I got the score, thank you so much, and I can see it in their eyes and how much impact I've had. So I feel like that's probably the most rewarding.
What psychological advice would you offer to children who are preparing for a language test?
I feel like you have to be confident in yourself, not in a cocky way, but you have to realize your potential. I feel like a lot of students doubt themselves a lot. Oh, I'm probably never gonna score high, or I'm probably not capable of doing this. But in reality, anything's possible when you put in the work. So if you really did practice, that's going to be evident in your result. So just be confident in yourself, believe in yourself, because you are capable of doing so.
Diana finishes her morning coffee at the Rock Coffee Shop while enjoying the peaceful surroundings. Next, she heads to the National University of Mongolia for her lessons, lectures, and seminars. Let's join her as she continues her day. What was the primary motivation behind opening your YouTube channel?
So for my YouTube channel, I feel like a lot of kids nowadays have content that's more tailored towards entertainment. There's not many channels that are geared towards actually educating the youth. My videos specifically have a self-development type. Also, I make vlogs which are in English so that they can have and understand daily conversational English, and it also has the Mongolian subtitles that they can use. And yeah, I feel like it's really important to have that sort of content available for them.
What do you consider to be the most important habit for an individual to develop?
Probably journaling, because our brains have millions of ideas floating around in our brains. So in order to make sure your ideas are getting implemented, make sure that it's not getting forgotten, it's important to jot everything down on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be organized, right? But as long as you write them down, it's actually much easier to come back to those and actually implement those. So journaling.
How do you manage your daily schedule?
I feel like because I've been doing what I do for a long time, it doesn't feel as overwhelming as it used to. So it doesn't feel hard whenever I have a lot of things going on in my life, especially on a daily basis. But it depends, because sometimes I'll have a crazy hectic day with shoots, with lectures, seminars, presentations, and even courses that I have to teach. But sometimes it's more laid and chill.
How do you spend your free time?
I like traveling. I also like photography. I try to capture those moments as perfectly as I can. And I usually take nature photography. I have a page dedicated to it as well. I also like painting.
Let's talk about your modeling career. When did you start working as a photo model?
I first became a contracted model back in January of 2018, and I have been doing promotional shoots here and there, but because of my height, I don't do runways. I'm usually just a photo model. It's something I'm definitely passionate about since I was a kid.
Do you have a particular role model?
Probably Princess Diana, because when I first went to the States, people obviously couldn't pronounce my name, so I had to choose a nickname. And as I was going through a list of names that start with the letter D, I came across Diana and I immediately knew, because I feel like although she's passed away, she still remains very dear to our hearts, and she's someone who is very compassionate, very intelligent, someone who is kind-hearted, and I think that's something I truly strive to be every single day.
After wrapping up today's lesson, Diana looks forward to some relaxation. Like many others, she has her favorite way to unwind after a long day. Today, she's keen on heading towards the library to unwind and delve into some reading. How do you cope with the stress and overcome challenges?
I think one of the most important things to remember is depending on how you can shift your mindset, you can look at stress as being part of a problematic society or an outcome of a selfish world. But when you shift your mind to a more positive one, where everything you wish in your mind comes true, I feel like that's when you realize that stress is something trivial and you can manage it. It just depends on your outlook on life and overcoming challenges. I feel like a lot of people will only understand how easy something was after you get it done. So of course at the beginning it'll feel overwhelming, but with challenges you get to grow and become a better person, better version of yourself. So just stick through it and you'll be satisfied with the result.
How do you see yourself in the future? What's the main thing you'd like to achieve over the next 10 years?
I definitely hope to expand Tactics of Diana. I hope that I can have more impact, a positive one, on more people, especially Mongolian people. I also hope to release my books on TOEFL and SAT and become a best-selling author. I also hope to live abroad and learn more languages. Those are a few things that I would like to accomplish in the new decade.
Diana's busy day has finished. Thank you, Diana, for sharing your day with us. What advice would you like to give to the younger generation?
I would definitely say whatever you have on your mind, do it now because you will regret in the future. So anything you've been wanting to do, any skill you've been learning, you've been wanting to learn, do it now because it's so easy for us to overconsume all the short form content that's been coming out lately, right? So to realize how important and valuable your time is and how using it efficiently will change your life drastically. So whatever you have on your mind, do it now. That's all I want to say. Thanks for tuning in and spending a day with me. Bye, loves. Good night.
As we come to the end of this episode of Generation, we reflect on the journey of our remarkable guest, a young girl from Mongolia who started her own company at a young age. Her story highlights the importance of resilience and determination. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey.